Good evening, everyone, and as promised on yesterday's video, if there was any more new information in regards to missing person, vulnerable adult Nancy Guthrie, who is 84 years old and was last seen on January the 31st, 2026. There was a press conference today where FBI and Pima County Sheriff Department were both present there, and it did answer quite a considerable amount of questions. We found out a couple of things in regards to the ransom notes that were reported. We know that one of the ransom notes is a hoax and somebody has been arrested in connection to this. However, we know that another ransom note is getting taken incredibly seriously. As I did play you this morning, Nancy's children did do a video plea to the abductor. Now, the abductor's demands is for Bitcoin, and the digital forensics experts team, they will be trying to secure the IP address of where this has obviously come from. However, as anybody knows, IP addresses can ping from all sorts of different places in use of multiple VPN usage. It might take a long time for this to actually be tracked down. There was a Bitcoin ransom asked for, and the deadline was for 5 o'clock today, which is just in the space of a couple of hours. And the other deadline is for Monday. Now, they have advised that there is searches on every pharmacy and every hospital for anybody that's picking up medication that Nancy is most definitely going to be needing. But as the family did mention in yesterday's video, they need to see some sort of proof of life. And at this day and age, with digital AI, videos can be faked, pictures can be faked, and voices can also be faked. The family plea was so emotionally charged, which is why I did not speak over that, and I just played the Instagram video that was released by Savannah. Now, we also have now a timeline. Timeline is an approximation, of course, but it is as follows. On January 31st, 2026 at 5:32 p.m, Nancy travels to a local family home, which we know is Annie, her daughter. At 9:48 p.m, a family member drops Nancy off at home and the garage door opens. Now, Pima County Sheriff Department and FBI are refusing to answer who it was that dropped Nancy off, and all they have said that it is being a family member. At 9:50 p.m, the garage door closes. On February the 1st, 2026, in the early hours of the morning at 1:47 a.m, the doorbell camera disconnects. At 2:12 a.m, software detects person or something on camera. There is no video available, no subscription, no description, which could potentially mean that it has potentially been an animal. All the cameras in the surrounding area are being checked. Now, remember, this is a very small community, but the houses are very far apart. So it's not like some places where it's a built-up area where multiple ring cams will pick up multiple things. And at 2:28 a.m, the pacemaker app shows disconnect from the phone and the Apple Watch. Now, we knew this quite early on, but this meant that this was when she was taken, as soon as a pacemaker is away from an app, or a certain distance away from an app, that's when that disconnects. So it doesn't mean that her heart is stopped. It just means that she is no longer in her property, where her phone and her Apple Watch both have been left. She was supposed to attend a church service that morning, but she never showed. And at 11:56 a.m., a family member, family actually checks on Nancy. And at 12:03 p.m., 911 call to Pima County Sheriff Department, and at 12:15 p.m. this was when the patrol then arrived. Now, I am really glad that this timeline had actually been put out there, because something that had been consistently shared in a narrative and comment sections and videos, etc., was that it took an hour for Annie to call 911 after they arrived in the scene. This shows that was an absolute load of bollocks. I believe that the hour that was mentioned was potentially when she had failed to show up at the church service, and then Annie arriving at her home. Something else that was said as well, that the blood at the doorstep was actually Nancy's blood, which has been said. Now, no one has been ruled out. This is very much an active, ongoing investigation, and police, FBI, the law, are only going to share a certain amount, because like I said yesterday, we as general public, we don't deserve to know everything that's going on. They have to keep things close to their chest. Something that was mentioned as well is people need to be very careful about the narrative that you're putting out. And TMZ and the other journalists that I mentioned yesterday have most likely doubled down on what they are saying, because they've heard it from one that they believe to be a informant or a source within the police. Even if they did hear that, at the end of the day, the journalistic integrity has to fall into play here, because active investigation, there's a certain amount of information that you do not put out to the public, because we have no right to know. Just in general, please, and I'm going to repeat what I said yesterday, be careful what you are sharing, what you are posting, what you are reposting, and what you believe to be the gospel truth. I would advise anybody to continue to look to the FBI and Pima County Sheriff Department for information and facts and surrounding the case, but which is ultimately what I do. And if you hear something that is somewhat different, I would advise you, before you share, comment, repost, etc., to just take a few seconds and just research yourself what is actually getting said, because we must always stick to facts over fiction and truth over conspiracy, always. I know that people will have their narrative on this. I know that people have their perception and their own thoughts in regards to this. And I'm not saying you can't have your own thoughts in regards to this, but pulling apart a video doesn't make you a body language expert overnight, because you're going to see what you want to see. And when you share misinformation, this grows arms, legs, and two heads. And it'll get turned and twisted in every direction possible. I will continue to bring you factual updates on this case. And if you do want to follow somebody that is running off the facts of what we do get put out from law enforcement, please do follow along. See you in the next video.